Hey y'all, hi. Today I am going to share 6 tips to make your winter outfits look amazing. And with these tips, hopefully shake up the way that you have been conceiving of your style, maybe the way that you've been combining the clothes that you already have. Maybe these tips will also help you figure out the one thing that you could invest in going into the fall and winter to galvanize your entire existing wardrobe so that you get that feeling of freshness, but without having to replace everything. I will also link my book at the top of the description box down below so you can click through and check that out. My name is Hannah. I make fashion and beauty content. I'm glad you're here, and let's get into the meat of the video. Okay. Tip number 1 to make your winter outfits look amazing: color restraint. I love color restraint as an outfit building strategy. I, in general, feel like constraints of some kind in many cases are the key to the creative process, or can really bring life and dynamics to the creative process, because when you have parameters, you can kind of fire on all cylinders inside of those parameters. Whereas if you have no parameters at all and you're kind of just casting out, like you could literally wear anything, your goals become very diffuse, your vision becomes very diffuse, and you're kind of directionless. Anyway, I'm a big fan of artificial constraints to enhance generative creativity. And when you're putting together an outfit, color restraint is one of the best. And it's particularly good in winter because it's so easy to do when you're outdoors. Because when you're outdoors in the winter, you just have your overcoat, maybe your pants or skirt, and boots sticking out from the bottom of your coat, a scarf, a hat. There are fewer elements potentially exposed to the eye. And, if you are choosing a hat and a coat, or choosing which hat and coat to wear, hat, scarf, coat, you're kind of putting together like your winter outer uniform, like the exterior of your winter uniform. It's simultaneously lower stakes because it's like okay for it to be exactly the same every day. It's like you're not wearing it indoors. It's just what you put on when you go outside. So in that way, it's lower stakes, but it's also more present, more ever present, and higher impact in that way because you potentially wear it every day on top of whatever else you're wearing. So that's such a fun place to play with fashion concepts, shape and color concepts. And if you deploy color restraint in your outerwear, what that would look like would be choosing a coat and a scarf and a hat and maybe boots that are essentially all the same color, right? Going for an intense monochromatic vibe. You can do it without too much effort, and it's so much fun. Bi-color dressing is also a kind of color restraint, right? So you can mostly go for camel, like a camel coat, camel scarf. Maybe you have some kind of camel or cognac colored boots. And then your hat is black and you wear a lot of black pants. So when you're out and about, it's really just, you're a vision in camel and black. It's drama without being too try hard, effortless drama, but you can easily ruin it by just grabbing a handbag that isn't in the palette, having boots that aren't in the palette, right? So in order to actually execute this and have it be impactful, you have to hold yourself back. And you sometimes have to kind of check yourself and be like, am I going to deploy color restraint truly as part of my winter wardrobe impact today? Like if I'm really leaning into it, then no, I have to not then just grab my red handbag, even though I really love it and I usually wear it because I want to do it all the way. You can't really do color restraint halfway or it starts to become something else. So I encourage you from time to time to give it a try, really rein yourself in, really commit to the bit of color, ride it out, and see how you feel. And speaking of committing to the bit, having to ride something out, having to be extremely patient, one temptation that I am really trying to resist going into the fall is cutting my hair short again because I'm trying to grow it out. It's at such an awkward length right now. And I was really struggling with it until I got this. This is the Dreamy Dazzle. And to my utter delight, Dreamy is sponsoring today's video. I've literally been saying to Joe for years, it's been at least 2 years, that I wish an amazing hair tools brand would connect with me and ask me to review a spectacular diffusing hair dryer. And it finally happened. So as many of you know, I wash my hair once a week and style it with a diffuser. That is how I get this volume and define the waves. And the Dreamy Dazzle has upped my hair game like 1,000-fold. The attachments slide on and off effortlessly. It rotates 360 around its cord, and it has this rotating head that makes it so much easier to get the angles that I want. It also has a screen with intelligent nozzle recognition, so it knows which attachment you put onto it and automatically optimizes the heat and airflow settings to match the styling you are doing. And I think because of that, I have seen seen amazing results compared to my old system, which was just like clipping a totally broken universal diffuser head onto a really old hairdryer. It was really hot, really aggressive, and I could never predict or control the direction of my waves. I was just hoping for the best every time. With the Dreamy Dazzle, it calibrates perfectly to diffusing when I attach the diffuser, and it's just been much gentler on my hair and easier to shape. It also intermittently applies a shot of cool air in between the heat, which like locks in the shape and has added so much longevity to my style. It's like staying like this a lot longer throughout the week than it used to. And if you use it for curling, it does the same thing. It automatically applies heat for 10 seconds and then a cool shot for 5 seconds to lock in the curl. You don't have to switch that on and off. It just does it. It is such a pleasure to use. It is so effective, and it has really helped me feel more excited about the possibilities of styling my hair and helped me resist the temptation to just give up and chop it all off again. It actually has a total of 6 styling tools. So it functions as a regular hairdryer, of course. And in addition to the curler and the diffuser, there's an oval brush, a soft air nozzle, and a styling nozzle. So thank you to Dreamy. This is literally a dream sponsor for me, and it has been such a pleasure to upgrade to the Dazzle. The link for this will be in the description box below, along with a custom discount code. And the code will also work on their luxury styler, the AirStyle Pro, in case you don't need the diffuser attachment, but you're looking for those super smooth salon style waves. So my second tip for making amazing winter outfits is the opposite of the first, right? Color restraint was tip number 1. Tip number 2 is color party. And the thing is, sometimes when an outfit has a lot of color in it, it feels like too much, like it feels a little bit jumbled. But then paradoxically, the way to make it sing and suddenly sort of be calibrated is to add yet another color, or at the very least, one more bold item that just like expands the repertoire of what the outfit is doing. So if you are juggling a lot of color, if color restraint is just not possible for you because of the kinds of things you tend to buy or what you already have, but your outfits just don't feel like they're singing, like it all just feels a bit muddy in terms of color composition, adding one more bold item or choosing to wear more of your bold or colorful things at once than you usually do could be the answer for you. And again, in the winter, it's so easy to do because of cold weather accessorizing. So I love to add that one extra bold thing to my outfit with an intense scarf, a pair of red socks or bright blue socks, a really bright hat. Coats are also amazing for that if you can go there, but a coat is a big investment. In accessories like socks and scarves and hats, we have pieces that make an impact on the outfit that is outsized compared to the monetary investment usually. I mean, unless you're out there buying like $1,000 scarf, but usually you can have like very, very high impact on your outfit without spending too much on the piece if you're going for winter accessories. So it's just an exciting time of year to be playing with this idea. If monochromatic, like eye smoothing dressing isn't for you and you often end up wearing a lot of color or layered in a lot of color, consider adding to your wardrobe a really statement hat, or one really brightly colored scarf to make all of the existing variety coalesce. And my third tip to make winter outfits look amazing is an exciting sort of potentially combination of number 1 and 2, pop of color on a neutral background. So if you do have the capacity for that sort of eye smoothing, monochromatic or bicolor dressing, or if you have a coat and a scarf and a hat, say, that are all in like a neutral grayish, but you need boots this winter, you could get bright red boots and you will always look unbelievable when you're walking around in the winter. Pop of red on a background of grayish. And you can even just do that with red socks if your boots happen to also be grayish. Or if you've opted for like all black for your accessories because you just can't, a really bright green hat just to add a splash of something and mix it up a little bit. That's a pop of color on a neutral backdrop, and it can be everything. It can make all of the difference. And again, without having to buy too many things. And maybe you already have a brightly colored hat and you can just use the color restraint that we talked about in item number 1 all over with everything else. It makes the outfit the pedestal upon which the hat sits. It will give the hat that much more power, the color of the hat that much more power if everything else is neutral. This is a really fun way to play with the two of those if you don't want to go all in on one or all in on the other, to kind of get them to talk to each other. Also, also a statement sweater, a brightly colored sweater worn with a pretty neutral outfit. This is something we've talked about recently in that video, kind of analyzing the fall outfits of really stylish people. And I showed a bunch of images of people wearing not even monochromatic or bicolor clothes, but all neutral. So like a tan jacket, black pants, brown boots, just all neutral, and then one really, really bright red sweater. And this can be the sweater that you wear, or you could wear that really bright sweater, as we also looked at in that video, around your shoulders as a scarf on top of an otherwise entirely neutral outfit. Again, it's like very high impact, but very low visible effort. Like you don't look at someone dressed like that and think, wow, they really tried. They really did the most. Because as I said in that video, it's just what could be easier than just putting on a sweater and a pair of pants, boots, and a coat. It's just how everyone dresses. And if one of those items happens to be a brilliant, striking color, and all of the others happen to be in colors that are neutral and therefore sort of recede, it sort of just seems like a happy accident. And it's so, so beautiful. Okay, number 4, this might be the one taking us out onto a limb, at least for some of you, although this was one of my favorite things to do last winter. That's why it ended up in here. Layering chunky knits instead of a coat. Chunky knits instead of a coat. This is a texture option that I love, love, love. And it's more feasible maybe than you think, depending on how cold it gets where you live or how cold it happens to be on any given day. But even then, I did this in some pretty cold weather last year. It also probably depends on your lifestyle, like the kind of day you are about to have. But bananas levels of bulky layers of knit can be so good. It can be so good. I love a big chunky duster that is a sweater, like a knitted sweater duster that is a sweater, but can also be a coat. And then if you put it on top of another sweater, then you've done it. The one that I have is from Ozma. I think it's called the Sloan duster. Having a chunky duster like that is what really showed me the way, showed me that this is possible. Wearing it on top of a really thick sweater, that's enough warmth for most days, at least where I am. And it does get pretty cold here, but it's also possible to take that and layer it like on top of a cardigan, which is also on top of a sweater. And then if you add a knitted scarf to that, it's like chunky knits all over each other, all over the place, sweater on sweater on sweater action. It might feel wrong, but it's actually so right. And it's actually so doable. And this is something that you can play with in closet playtime, right? It's like you can try it at home before you take it out, but don't be afraid to try it, especially if you have a chunkier sweater that's open in some way, like a chunky cardigan, and you've never thought to put it on top of another sweater. And if it doesn't feel like it's quite working, then add the scarf, because it's like, once again, like with color, sometimes it's the third thing or the addition of yet another one on. It's like, this is too much. And then you add more of the same. And then it's like, oh, it's just right. I think that can be true with texture as well as color. Tip number 5, layering over a maxi skirt. This has so many manifestations. And I think that's why it keeps coming up. I've talked about it and I feel like I've been talking about it for a couple of years. I recently did this. I was wearing like that really chunky oatmeal colored cotton cardigan over like a maxi, that white pin tucked skirt that's in a couple of places right now. I think it was originally a Doen creation, the Doen Sebastian skirt, but there are dupes of it all over the place and they all are gorgeous. The one that I have is from Quince, a chunky cardigan over a maxi skirt. And I loved that outfit. This is one I'm always trying to get myself to do. And it's like I can only ever get halfway there, but I did it recently and I really loved it. Yeah, my notes say that it's a look that I love that I haven't quite managed to make feel natural to me yet, but that's not true because I just did it. When I wrote these notes, it was true. But last week I did it and I was like, this is me now. So a sweater or a knit over a maxi. And funnily enough, this can link to the previous tip, the sweater on sweater on sweater action. If you have a knitted skirt, right? If you have a merino wool skirt, a knitted maxi skirt of some kind, and then you put a sweater on top of that, and then a sweater on top of that, then you're doing both of these at once. And it's everything I've always said that I love about this. I love that it's a way to potentially bring your summer dresses into fall, bring your spring and summer clothes into fall. So it makes those clothing items that seem like they need to be boxed up once it starts getting cold, it makes them make sense in the fall. I love the log and look of it all. That's a reference to a recent video where I went a deep dive, right? I went deep into log and look, freedom of movement, dramatic silhouette. I love that. I love the way that it makes texture play and color blocking easy for anyone. It makes it kind of effortless. It makes it easy to do, and it makes it look like it was easy to do, like you didn't try too hard, because you probably didn't. Because you just put on your maxi dress that you've been wearing all summer and then put a giant chunky knit sweater on top of it, and what could be easier? It makes print mixing kind of easy and intuitive if you have printed dresses and skirts and, printed layering pieces, shirts and knitwear. Each piece takes up so much real estate on your body that it just kind of makes sense that they're together almost no matter what the two pieces are. I also love that it makes mixing formality levels really easy, like mixing high and low. For example, an athletic sweatshirt over a very fine skirt, like a silk maxi skirt, or a cashmere sweater, a really fine cashmere sweater over like a gingham skirt that seems a little bit more like something you would wear to go call in the cows. It is just generally a strategy and a silhouette that celebrates textiles. And I love that. I'm still seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing it in images everywhere. I'm seeing it all over Instagram and Pinterest. And it is something that I want to continue to do more myself this fall and winter. And finally, tip number 6 to make your winter outfits amazing. I'm calling this tip just wear the X. You will know what X is for you. Here's what I mean. Just wear the vintage blazer, the red boots, the bright green socks. Just wear the nicer coat. Just wear the statement necklace. Just wear the dress. In one of my videos last month, it was that video about bad habits that are making you unstylish. I talked about the bad habit of saving your nice clothes for some future occasion. And so many of you in the comments said that this is your biggest hang up with style. Having something, like you have something really great, but you're just continuing to opt out of wearing it day after day after day because each day on that day, today doesn't feel worth it. I propose to you that the item that could make your fall and winter outfits all look amazing might already be in your closet, and you might just not be wearing it very often or ever because you haven't really bonded with it yet. You haven't made it into something that feels natural to you. On some level, it's like you're a bit afraid of it or uncomfortable with it, but you can change that just by wearing it. This happened to me with the Harper maxi skirt from Ozma. I had it. I love the silhouette. I love the color, and I love that it's matte. It's made of cupro, so it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's not like that high shine of silk charmeuse that a lot of slip skirts are in. I love everything about it. I had it for like over a year before I started wearing it, and I always saw it as this thing I was saving for very, very special occasions. And then one day I just put it on when I was going to a pretty casual, I was meeting someone, but it was very casual. I was like going to have lunch. I wore it with a t-shirt. I really dressed it down and I was just like, this is just what I'm wearing. I wore it the way one wears a pair of jeans. That was the vibe. And it just broke the seal. And since then, I have not stopped wearing it. Like I've worn it, I've dressed it up, I've dressed it down, I've worn it to all occasions, I've taken it everywhere, I've thrown it in my bag when like going to New York for the weekend, just worn it like indiscriminately, and I love it so much and it feels so good. So it could be years later, right? You can have something and you just haven't managed to break the seal. Sometimes even years later, if you choose, you can make something that you already own an integral part of your style just by wearing it. So those are my 6 tips for making your winter outfits look amazing. I hope they have achieved my aims today, which is just to, like strike sparks, strike some sparks in the chamber of style in your mind and like the way you conceive of yourself, especially at this tender moment when the seasons are changing and we all sort of have an opportunity to dress in a slightly new way or to update the way that we dress. You can do it without spending too much. You can do it without trying too hard. You can do it without stressing too much, and you can do it, right? You don't have to not do it. You don't have to hold yourself back from doing it. You can do it. Thank you for being here with me. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to be subscribed, and don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.